At the World Economic Forum in Davos in January 2026, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was asked a straightforward question. Do sanctions actually work? Iran, he said, was the proof. President Trump had ordered maximum pressure on Iran's economy, and by December 2025, Bessent argued, it had worked. The Iranian rial had collapsed, falling from roughly 430,000 rials to the US dollar 3 years earlier to 1.42 million. A major bank had gone under, IND Bank. The central bank was printing money. Citizens were taking to the streets, driven by an annual inflation rate of 42%, and food prices had risen 72% year on year. This is economic statecraft, Bessent said. No shots fired.
The people took to the street. So this is economic statecraft. No shots fired.
Five weeks after Davos, on 20th February 2026, the United States and Israel launched military strikes on Iran. That gap between the confidence of January and the reality of February is the story of American sanctions policy on Iran. It is a story now playing out in real time, with sanctions relief sitting at the very center of ceasefire negotiations. Iran has made the lifting of sanctions a core demand in its talks mediated by Pakistan. The US has signaled conditional willingness, but tied any relief to Iranian concessions on nuclear enrichment. As of mid-May 2026, a fragile ceasefire holds, the Strait of Hormuz remains contested, and no comprehensive agreement has been reached. To understand how the world arrived here, you have to go back to 1979. The overthrow of the Shah and the seizure of American diplomats as hostages prompted the Carter administration to freeze Iranian assets and ban US trade with Iran. That was the beginning. Through the 1980s and 1990s, sanctions expanded to address Iran's support for armed groups and its pursuit of weapons technology. In 1996, the United States enacted the first Iran-related secondary sanctions, targeting foreign firms doing business with Iran, particularly those investing in its energy sector. The logic was clear. If you could not directly coerce Iran, you could coerce everyone who did business with Iran. The pressure intensified after 2002, when previously undisclosed Iranian nuclear facilities came to light. The UN Security Council imposed 4 rounds of sanctions between 2006 and 2010. By 2011 and 2012, the United States and European Union had gone further still, sanctioning Iran's central bank, banning its oil, and cutting it off from the international payment system entirely. The results were stark. Iran's crude oil exports fell by more than half, from 2.5 million barrels per day in 2011 to just 1.1 million by 2013. Some 120 billion in Iranian assets held abroad were frozen, and the economy shrank by 9% in the 2 years ending March 2014. Many analysts credit this period of maximum pressure with bringing Iran to the table. In 2015, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, was concluded. Iran accepted limits on its nuclear program in exchange for substantial sanctions relief. Iran's economy returned to growth, expanding by 7.4% in the first half of 2016, its strongest performance in years, as oil exports recovered to approximately 2.1 million barrels per day following the lifting of sanctions. Then in 2018, the first Trump administration withdrew from the agreement and reimposed all sanctions, pursuing what it called maximum pressure.
I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
This time with the stated goal of compelling Iran to negotiate a broader deal covering its missile program and regional activities. Iran did not do so. Instead, the late Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, killed in the February strikes, had promoted what he called a resistance economy, reducing Iran's dependence on external actors and building from within. Iran deepened its ties with China, which continued purchasing Iranian oil. Sanctions, for all their economic bite, had not altered Iran's core strategic direction. This is the paradox at the heart of this story. Sanctions devastated ordinary Iranians. They contributed to currency collapse, inflation, shortage of basic goods. They contributed to the protests of late 2025. But the Iranian leadership absorbed those costs and dug in. The question now, as Pakistan mediates between Washington and Tehran, is whether sanctions relief can achieve through negotiations what decades of pressure could not achieve through coercion alone.